Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Yeah.
I think we are alone for the moment. However, I usually get started anyway, and
Yes, of course.
and then
Did
anyone
you get
who
any sleep?
very
Yeah.
little, and we're still waiting.
I know. I've been glued to CNN from Europe. It's like, oh, I didn't sleep a bit last night.
The whole world is watching.
And I have this thing on my stomach, like such an anxiety. So,
Everyone,
yeah.
everyone on all sides, everyone is just
Yes, yes,
waiting,
absolutely.
waiting. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Nerve-wracking.
It
Wow.
is. It is. But
What
anyway,
an
let's get
experience.
started. I pinned our topics on the bottom of the screen.
Okay, so just so you know, I can't read because
No,
I would need glasses. So
no worries.
I'll.
No, no, no. I will ask the questions as we go along.
Okay, good. But maybe somebody will join us and ask. I don't know if you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
read.
totally,
Okay, good. Because
totally.
I'm
So
like, I won't be able to.
no worries, no worries. What I usually do, as people come in, if they ask questions, I pause after you finish your segment. I pause and then I ask the question. Hi there, Raw Vegan Meals, my way. Thanks for joining. We're going to get started. And I want to first of all say thank you so much to Daniela for taking the time to come on and
My,
share herself and the Kind Bride with us. For those who are not able to catch the full live version, I will save it on IGTV. So it will be there for as long as anyone needs it.
good.
Great. So, Daniela, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. And I wanted to see if we could start off by hearing from you what your vegan journey has been like in terms of how you started and how you got to where you are today.
So for me, becoming vegan was a very abrupt journey because I went for a movie called Noah by Ridley Scott that was, sharing the story of the biblical patriarch building the ark, and saving animals. And there was a scene where two savages, they were living in a very corrupt society. Rings a bell.
Scary. We never
Right?
we don't learn from our mistakes, right?
Absolutely. So there were two savages that were running after a cute lamb. And he was just so adorable, right? And he was just like running for his life. And there was the next scene, this poor lamb was grilling, like he was captured and they ate it. So that thing just shook me like I didn't know before, and I just made the connection that nothing has changed since those biblical times. And I felt like we still treat animals like they're our own property. And it just hit me, out of the blue, like I didn't even think or stop and think before, didn't know anything about, all this. I didn't
Yeah.
make the connection, as they say, right? So out of the theater, I just said, I'm not gonna ever eat meat again, and I'm not gonna be an accomplice to this society. And so I became, let's say, vegetarian. But in a month time, I started watching documentaries. I started getting into YouTube and watching all these very, very raw footage and upsetting, where you get to know all the dirty things of the dairy industry, the animal farming. So like I felt like being vegetarian wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So after a month, I made the switch to being vegan. And for me, it wasn't about me, but it was about them and paying my respects. So it was easier in terms of getting rid of milk products and all these things that we were used to eat, because from then on I just associated it with pain and suffering. So it wasn't too difficult for me to let go of those issues. And plus nowadays we're so lucky because there's so many alternatives.
Exactly. No, I'm so happy that you're saying everything that you're saying because more and more I'm hearing from other vegans that obviously the documentaries were very powerful, but also it's really the suffering of our animals that really triggers them to switch. And so I personally started for health reasons. However, it was on my journey that I learned more about the animal suffering and the cruelty. So for some reason, I feel happy to know that you learned about the animal cruelty first, because I think that is more powerful,
But you
than
feel so guilty. I mean, I cried for like 2-3 months after becoming vegan because I felt like, what was I thinking before? I mean, how didn't I see this before, right? So I felt so guilty, and at one point I just decided that I should stop watching
yeah,
videos like that, because I
yeah.
mean, you feel really powerless and you can't do anything about it, but just trying to maybe make it look to other people like you can be vegan and happy without pointing fingers. But sometimes it's hard because I do feel for all the animal activists that are picketing, and I feel their pain because I know that they're not doing for themselves, but they are the voices of whoever can speak for themselves. So yeah,
Exactly.
if you think about that, it's it's such a struggle.
Yeah, and the more I learn about the animal cruelty, because I recently watched some documentaries and I learned more about like the animal testing and laboratories for our so-called products that we
Yeah,
use.
even for smoking products.
Oh, I didn't
I
even
didn't
know about
know
that.
dogs.
I didn't know about that. Oh my gosh. Ooh, that's another bad
Yeah,
aspect that I haven't learned about yet. So there's just
yeah.
so much out there, and I really appreciate you being like so, real and raw about it because it's reality. But, the mainstream marketing, business, media, they don't want us to know that. So that's kind of the dirty little secret that's kind of, brushed under the rug, swept under the rug. So I want to say hi to everybody who's joined so far. I see a few of you in here. Please put your questions down below in the comment section for Daniela, and she'll be happy to answer them. And so, Danielle, I wanted us to also go to the topic of the Kind Bride story, how it was created, how you came up with the name, and just tell us a bit about what the Kind Bride is all about, please.
So I've been working in the wedding industry for many, many years, mainly in California. I was a wedding photographer. And when I relocated to Italy in 2011, then I was doing a different project. But after a while, weddings are really addictive. When you work in the wedding industry, it's really hard to let go.
Really?
And I don't really remember, but I was kind of researching on vegan wedding resources once I became vegan. That was in 2014, but then sort of was busy with a different project, and it was only in the late 2017 that I kind of started playing around with like looking for resources for vegan weddings, and I I only found one website that was more like a little guide, but it was I think the Tree Kisser. But she would just tell her story and give some resources, but there wasn't like a lot of resources for couples wanting to plan a wedding. So I think it was a way for me to give back to an industry that I always loved being involved with. And so I started playing around with creating a platform where I could share inspiration, articles, fashion, real weddings, and a vegan wedding directory that would be global and not just focus on one area. So we cover mainly all English speaking states, Australia, US, Canada, some parts of Europe, but I would really want to extend it to Asia and everything, but it's a lot of work and it's kind of a hobby, right? So I only
Wow.
have to do it in my spare time.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I came up with the Kind Bride because I think I was just on Alicia Silverstone's site,
I love her.
right? Isn't it
I
the Kind
love
Life?
Alicia.
The Kind Life, right? That's her website,
Oh,
right?
I
And
love her.
and so I thought, oh, okay, maybe the Kind Bride would be kind of a cool name. So I went and immediately looked if the domain was available or the handler in the social media account. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it.
Oh my God. I'm so excited that you said that.
Yeah, and so the journey started, and then I'm doing all in house, but soon I just got a lot of good feedback, and I had a few vegans reach out wanting to collaborate, like write for the blog. So we have a lot of vegan professionals in the wedding industry writing articles, from makeup hairstylists, wedding planners, photographers, and they all contribute with professional content. And so we've created a good platform. There's a good mix of real stories and advice, wedding planning tips, inspiration, fashion, a little bit, and we've been tweaking a lot this year, the content for COVID, right? So we had to tweak around that a lot, but that also was really helpful because couples were at a loss. They didn't know what to do. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, but I've also co-hosted the first ever vegan bridal fair in LA in 2018, which was like a dream, and then it just happened very quickly because we connected with Vertlax, which is an eco-friendly marketplace and platform. And I connected with their founder, and she was based in LA, so we were able to sort of organize the fair. And we wanted to do it again in 2019, but we couldn't. No, this year, 2020, but we
Right.
couldn't because of COVID. So we'll see if we'll do it again or not in the near future. We'll see.
Well, I applaud you for, taking this on as a hobby, first of all. Secondly, you're obviously filling a gap in the market, that niche of vegan brides, plant-based brides. You're obviously fulfilling a need. So I really applaud you. And I'm glad you brought up the two parts that you just brought up. Number one, that the folks in your directory actually can approach you, because I was going to wonder about that, and I know the directory is one of our topics here, and I want to say hi to everyone who's joining, and please leave your comments and questions down in the comment section for Daniela, and she'll be happy to answer. So Daniela, I'm happy that you mentioned that suppliers for your directory do reach out to you sometimes, and that perhaps not necessarily you are the one who reaches out to them, but I'm sure it goes both
It's a
ways,
mix.
correct?
Yeah, because if I like someone, actually the directory is free. So I don't charge anything to join because, I was starting out. So I just didn't feel like, who's this girl? She's like starting. She wants, us to pay money for a directory. I just felt like I wanted to help, these businesses meet their ideal client, right? And so that's why the directory is free. And Instagram, it's a great resource. You know, you can search through hashtags. So following vegan weddings, and you happen to sort of spot vendors and brands that are very cool. So I get in touch, or they come and email me asking how to join. And it's very simple, because I only need a short bio, their logo, and a website so I can link them. And that's it. That's very simple.
Yeah, and I love, well, I'm just like pulling stuff out here, but I also
Sure.
love that. I also love that, you cover like what I've seen in your posts. Let's put it that way. You cover like from head to toe what, a bride would need. Like recently you featured some gorgeous jewelry. Actually twice you featured some gorgeous jewelry, I believe. Just
Shoes,
recently,
dresses.
yeah, you
Yeah.
recently,
And
one
also
aspect,
advice.
yes,
Like
yes,
today, we had a great post about how to manage guests at a
yes,
vegan wedding, because you might feel intimidated to have a vegan wedding because you don't want to be mocked, but there are all our real wedding stories are awesome, and awesome inspiration, because I love to interview the bride. So we ask not just wedding planning questions like what did you wear, what did you eat, blah blah, but also some sort of emotional answers, like was your family supportive, or did the guest like the food? And always they're like, okay, they came for seconds and thirds, they couldn't believe the food was
I'm
vegan.
so
So to hear
excited.
so many great stories from these real couples, and those are for me the one that should inspire vegan couples. But mainly everyone's like, I could never had it any other way because of their lifestyle, and they want to really share their values with their loved ones.
Yes, I'm gonna pause here for Raw Vegan Meals My Way, who's asking, how do you find non-vegan guests at a vegan wedding react? And I think that speaks to the blog that you just highlighted. But if you could just kind of answer a bit more for
Yeah. So what Kirsty Harman today, she's a wedding planner in UK. She wrote that you need to understand that's your day, and you gotta be firm. And sometimes you don't have to say that you're gonna serve vegan food at the wedding. You're unless you can ask for allergies, right? And if people are gonna mock, you just don't invite them. That's what she says.
it's so
But
interesting because I just want to say Raw Vegan Meals My Way, as far as I know, she lives in the UK.
oh, cool. So you can ping me later. I can give you Kirsty email if you want to reach out. And um, also, I think that by the stories that we share, the real stories, we never heard anybody complain. All the guests were impressed with the food. I guess you have to find a good caterer, and which there are many out there right now. So um, they never had any critique, or so also because they're your guests. I'm sure that they love you, so they will be kind of supportive, and they can go one day without eating meat, can they? Right? And make an exception, right?
Of course,
Hello.
and they're getting all of their nutrients, and they're tasting some beautifully yummy new dishes that could, inspire them. So I think it's just awesome.
Yeah, and some people, like, if you don't tell them that the food is vegan, they may not even like Uncle Joe, older, and it's like, okay, Uncle, that's vegan. I'm like, no way, no way. Like, because maybe the soy meat that they marinated, that they make it taste like real meat. Not for me. It's not like taste I would go for, but you know, for meat eaters, yeah, it's sometimes they're very surprised.
Some people cannot tell the difference.
Uh-huh.
And there was actually a guy who I follow on Instagram recently, and they served a plant food to omnivores, and the omnivores didn't even know the difference. They couldn't believe it was vegan when they revealed the secret to them.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing where a lot of people just cannot tell the difference. And raw vegan meals my way saying absolutely.
Yeah, you know, I was curious to
Yes.
try the Impossible Burger, for example, but it just grossed me out because I'm like, are you sure? I was telling the widow, are you sure this is the Impossible Burger? Because I'm like, okay, this is like really too much, too much.
It was so close, right? It was so close
Yes,
in terms of
absolutely.
the color and the texture.
Yes. So you have it once and then you can't digest it for like 2 days because I think it's still, you know, lab food. I'm trying to eat more natural foods and
Whole Foods, yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, and well, you know, that happened to me in a restaurant. It was vegan chicken. And
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, I was eating the vegan chicken, and I had to ask the server, "Are you sure? Are you sure that this is vegan?" I was so worried because I thought, well, did was there a miscommunication? What
Yeah.
happened? And she reassured me it was vegan. It was vegan chicken. And I
Yes.
was just so relieved because honestly, now I had given up meat over 20 years ago.
Wow.
I was a pescatarian vegetarian, but I had given up like what we call meat over
Yeah.
20 years ago, but I was still eating some seafood, some dairy, some eggs. And so I hadn't eaten chicken in like over 20 years because this was just last year. And when I was eating this vegan chicken in a restaurant, I was really worried that, you know, I was eating like real
Yes.
chicken. Oof.
It happens sometimes when you go into maybe a new place and
It was a new place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
So
have we have Elegant Eventi saying it can be a great surprise for the guests, not the usual stuff as meat, 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 and again meat. I agree, Elegant Eventi.
that's Daria, my friend from Milan.
There we go. Thank you, Dadia. I agree. It is a surprise, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Daniela, if you could just share with us a couple changes that you've seen in the whole vegan wedding world over the last couple of years that you've been involved in this niche market. Are there any, you know, any small or big changes that you've noticed?
I don't see many trends in vegan weddings because I think the wedding of a vegan couple really focuses on the couple. So they might not be that, you know, okay, let's match the colors and this and that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
simpler, but that doesn't mean that they are classy. They're very, you know, maybe more minimalist or boho style. They're a bit of everything.
yeah.
But I think one thing that it has in common is definitely the choice of serving a buffet
Okay.
table, buffet food, instead
Nice,
of sitting down dinner with, you know,
nice.
courses and maybe old style, maybe all weddings now. You know, I remember, I think sitting down is more Italy wedding style. I don't know. Or maybe upscale, you know,
Yes, exactly.
weddings. And
Because you have to employ the servers,
yeah.
for example. Hmm.
And they're more boring because you have to sit for so long, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think buffet is just more casual, and then you can just like, you know, have leisure areas, and so a lot of outdoors weddings, of course, and
Beautiful.
more relaxed, and I think maybe more intimate, not too big.
Yeah,
So they're not very, you know, big trends because I think vegans are not that crazy about trends, but just being very authentic, I think. So, and just to really show who they are. So they might have just a few things that represent them.
yeah.
So, and then, this year has been crazy, and a lot of people had to scale down and do maybe minimal needs that have been so popular, or micro weddings, right? So they've been maybe just with two guests, or, the testimonies, the maid of honor, or somebody. So this year has been such a crazy year for every couple. So
Yeah, and
tough time.
we can skip to that topic actually, the wedding trends and the pandemic changes. So I'm glad you brought that up. So you were saying like kind of like micro weddings. I've seen like some couples are actually broadcasting their weddings on Zoom or
Yes.
on some type of, internet platform.
Yeah, because maybe a lot of venues are closed, and so you can find a different wedding. You can find a garden, you can find someone's backyard that's big enough, and you can kind of sort of spread evenly a few tables and have a few guests so they can sit while social distance, and so you can still have a celebration and be very mindful, and that's what's been happening for vegan and non-vegan weddings these days. And plus, I mean, as a photographer, I always preferred intimate weddings
Yeah.
because everybody knows everyone, and there's such a synergy of love, and and comfort, so being comfortable, and for photographer as well, there's a lot of great opportunities for candid images, and moments, are very precious moments. So I think when you can really relate to each guest in a very profound way, it's really moving, makes your day really, really special, rather than, okay, who's that guy? I don't know who invited him. It's
It's so beautiful that you brought that up because I'm sure the energy is totally different when the couple is interacting with, people they know very well, like you're
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
versus, total strangers. They might be the office colleagues of their parents. They might be, distant relatives they haven't seen in 30 years.
It becomes more
So
stage, right? It becomes a
yeah.
little more stage, like you have to behave, you have to do this and do that. And once you are in your comfort zone with the people you love, you can just, like, relax and be yourself, and everything has a different meaning.
I agree. I agree. I want to say hi to everyone who's joined the live. And if you have any questions or comments for Daniela, you can pop them down below and she'll be happy to answer. So, Daniela, I wanted us to also talk a little bit more about the directory. How does a person, I guess mainly brides to be, how would they access your directory? Kind of give us a summary of what goes on in the directory. And I know
So,
you touched on some of it.
yeah, the website is called thekindbride.com, and once you go into the main menu, you can find the vegan wedding directory, and then there's a scroll down menu where you get into all different continents: Australia, US, Europe, and then you can scroll down on individual state. And then for some areas, I have all vendors in one page. And now that the directory is getting bigger, for example, in UK, I don't know, I have like listed 15 vegan photographers. So I created categories for each type of supplier. So you will find, caterers or videographer, photographers, makeup artists in their own category for the UK. And then I always tell vendors to specify where they're located and what areas do they serve, because many will travel, so brides can scroll and look for what they need. And it's pretty simple, and I guess user friendly. Or at least I hope.
Yeah, no, the way you're describing it, how it's, very, it's more detailed. In other words, you don't have to like boil the ocean, as we say. You don't have to like figure stuff out on your own. You kind of give people breadcrumbs on how to find what they want. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and for some states, I might just have 3 or 4 vendors, and they're all in the same page, even if they have different categories for now. But once I have a bigger amount of vendors for that particular state, then I want to set up categories so it's not too confusing. You don't have to scroll down to find, what you're looking for usually. So it's always a working process, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but and it's what's good too is that it's always updated. In other words, you're not just like, oh well, I'll just post this and leave it for a year. Like you're constantly updating and you're
Yes.
constantly adding content and providers and suppliers to your directory. So what I'm trying to say is you're keeping it fresh, you're keeping it up to date and current. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we try to, we used to blog for about a year, twice a week, but it got a bit intense in terms of I have a different day job. So that is taking me more time right now. So I had to scale down to 1 blog post per week. But, whenever I encounter or I meet a new vendor or I get a request, I easily update it, and we welcome them, and we share their profile on Instagram, because that's probably our most busy, successful platform for now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the blog because that was our next topic.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So the blog, now let's say there's someone who ends up listening to this particular live, even on the replay, and they're like, I wonder if I could write for the blog, if they're in the whole vegan sustainable world. How does that work in terms of, getting
Yes.
folks? Yes.
Yeah. So we have 2 different types of collaboration. One can just send a guest blog if they want. Of course, it has to be sort of relatable to vegan weddings. So we want to stay on topic. And I want to specify that everything that we write about, maybe a, vendor review or product review, fashion, everything is vegan. So because there are a few sites where they're eco-friendly, and some things may not be vegan. For example, in the fashion world, they speak about organic silk, which is not vegan. It might be eco-friendly, but it's not vegan. So I'm very careful to make sure that all our content is vegan friendly. So if we refer to anything from fashion to different type of products, the people reading and seeing links to, these specific products, they know that they are safe for them.
And they
So
can relax. They can relax once they enter your world, the Kind Bride, thekindbride.com, wherever they are in the Kind Bride world, they can relax. They don't have to like filter and question and
yes.
think about it, or, try to figure out, well, gosh, is this really, really vegan or
Yes.
not?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Um,
great.
so if you want to write, you can email me at thekindbride@gmail.com. We also have contributors, and our regular contributors there are providing about 6 articles throughout the year. And they also get a little ad as a thank you on the website, so I can promote their businesses as well, to thank them for their work. And they can be professionals that can share their expertise. For example, hairstylists can share about trends or products for the fall or for every season, so and they know, because I wouldn't know about certain products, and I can't know everything,
No,
right?
no, 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 no.
And I
And
think
that's
once
their area of expertise anyway. So
exactly. So I've been really lucky to have had people reach out to me with the interest of becoming contributors, and it's amazing because that's the way that I can share relatable and professional content as well. Because I'm not a writer. I just write from my heart whenever I see something or interview someone. I just try to do my best, and it's also my second language, as you can tell. So,
it's okay. You're perfect. Your English is
uh,
perfect.
and so I enjoy writing, but sometimes it takes me a bit, quite a while, to make sure everything looks okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
But
even for English speakers, I mean, we're like constantly editing and re-editing and taking stuff out and double checking stuff. So even when it's your native language, it still takes a while.
yes, yeah,
So
absolutely. I know. And I'm picky. I'm like, okay, how does that sound? Oh, I don't like it. Let's find another word. So I go into other places, like terraces, and I'm like, I want to find like a word that it's a little more, articulate or
yeah, 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 I know. You're a perfectionist probably, right?
oh, sometimes, not in
A little
everything.
bit.
You should see my messy house. It's like I have to give priorities to some things,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I want to say thanks for anyone who's on live here. And if you have any questions or comments for Daniela, you can pop them below and she'll be happy to answer. So Daniela, tell us a bit more about the Facebook community, please. How do people access it? What goes on in there in the community?
So you can search the Kind Bride community. It's actually a private community. I wanted to create a safe space for brides and vendors to mingle. And I didn't want the public eye in case they could make weird comments, because Facebook, Instagram is so happy. It's such a happy place, I think, I find. But Facebook can be a lot of negative energy sometimes. So I wanted to have a safe place where brides could reach out if they have any questions about wedding planning, and or vendors, they might have special offers, so they can share it with our group. On the website, we have also a link, but I think it depends. If you are on your computer, you can see it on the top right screen, the Kind Bride community, and you can click and it takes you to the page, so you can request to join. Or if you are on Facebook, you can just look for the Kind Bride community. It should pop up and you can ask to join. And I usually share the articles we post on the Kind Bride, or things that I find might be, interesting from other blogs. And of course, brides and vendors are they can reach out and ask questions. And we had several brides reach out. I remember one French girl was, I don't think she was French, but she was getting married in France. And
Right.
she wanted to do like a vegan wedding, but her boyfriend was not vegan. So she was trying to get some advice on, how to try to sort of find vendors, because if you're getting married in a different country and you don't have a wedding planner, that's going to be a tough one. So yeah, so it's good. It's a good place where you can get support, even emotional support, if you are struggling with something about your wedding, and especially these days, right, with all the uncertainty. It's been quite challenging for everyone, from vendors. I have to say, I've seen vendors becoming so creative despite the situation, and doing virtual makeup session where the makeup artist tells you what to do. And it's been very interesting to see virtual bachelorette parties, all these things that you can do. So,
That's so awesome that they're very creative.
yes, yeah. So it's been inspiring at the same time, to see how, because as a business, you need to survive. So it's been good to see what they would come up with
No, I
during
love
this time.
that. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I know people are having like virtual dinner parties and things like that. So it's just awesome that they can, even have, like you're saying, bachelorette parties or, and weddings, obviously, unfortunately, it's just what's happening this year, but that's
Yeah.
really cool. So tell
Yeah.
us, please, about any future projects that you have going on that will be coming online on board for the Kind Bride. Is there anything you wanted to share at this time?
So I would love to create a vegan fair trade e-shop for brides on the Kind Bride. I want to support fair trade artisanal work because, especially these days, I think it's so important, relying on artisanal work and people that are fairly paid for their craftsmanship. And so I think that I would love to promote professionals like that. They might be a little more expensive, but when you buy something, at least you know that someone didn't work for 10 hours for $2 an hour. You know what I mean? So I'm a big fan of sustainable fashion, and that's something that I've also learned when I became vegan. There's so much that we don't know about what's going on, fast fashion, and as a woman, if you're, I like to define myself a feminist since I was a kid.
Me too, me too.
And so I can't buy something that a woman worked for 12 hours being stuck in a place where she has no insurance, no safety, and makes $2 a day. I'm sorry, I can't buy that. So I rather buy less things, but I think the purchases I make, they have such more value, and I will cherish them and take care of them much better than if you buy an H&M t-shirt and then you forget where you put it, and like, oh, who cares, it was $10, right?
Yeah.
So everything I buy now, it has a special meaning, and there's a story behind it. The brand has a story, and I like to support such brands. So my dream would be to have a little boutique and promote these businesses on the Kind Bride, but I need to find the right way to set it up when I will have a little bit of time. So maybe something that could happen next year. We'll see.
No, I love it. I love that you're looking at like cruelty-free options for from the commercial aspect as well. So, in other words, just as vegans, we don't want to cause harm to, our non-human animals. In other words, those who are, the victims in animal factory farming or in, beauty products, skincare, etc., clothing,
Fashion.
etc.
Mm-hmm.
We want to avoid the cruelty and suffering of our non-human animals, but I'm really happy that you brought up our human animals, because humans also suffer in animal slaughterhouses, in factory farming, in labs where they're doing animal testing, in clothing factories where you have sweatshops, you have unsafe conditions,
Yeah.
unfair conditions, and so I'm just super happy that you brought up this topic of fair trade because it's very important, and a lot of times we just don't, realize it. And I know a lot of us, in the last few years have been talking about, avoiding fast fashion, that there's so many issues with fast fashion, and I understand that, but I'm just really happy that you are, trying to include that aspect of the cruelty-free energy that goes into whatever in your arena. It's a bride, so a kind bride, whatever she would purchase for her wedding, for her lifestyle in general. So I think that's just awesome that you're focusing on that too.
Yeah, and very niche, right? Because sometimes for a bride who looks for something in particular, there's not a vegan. I mean, they have vegan platform where you can buy things, but they're not necessarily just wedding related. So the choice may not be there. And even if you go on Etsy, there are sometimes I go and look for brands, so to if I research for an article, I often go on Etsy, but sometimes some products, they don't disclose the ingredients or the textiles, or so even for a shoe, is the sole made of what, of rubber or leather, who knows, right? So it's very tricky to figure out the ingredients, or the materials used. So
Yeah, I
I
really
really like
feel.
that, this transparency.
Yeah, I mean, I dream of the day when everything will be labeled as vegan friendly. In other words, you don't have to wonder, like you're saying, oh gosh, is the lining vegan? Is the sole vegan? Like, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And of course, which you brought up, in terms of the fair trade aspect, like I would love for it to really be mandatory, quite frankly, for that to be a label.
Well, there are many brands that are transparent, and most of the time they are linked to fair trade, and that's why they want to say it. We recently did an article on men's shoes for fall, vegan shoes,
Yeah, I
and
sent it to a friend.
most of the brands are also eco-friendly and very sustainably minded, and we love to share that because it's such a plus. You might pay a little more, but you're helping the environment, you're helping succeed. You're giving money to someone that cares about what they're doing, and they're not just putting the money on the pocket, they're giving back. And it just has a different flavor,
Totally. We
makes it.
have a question in Italiano per Daniela.
Okay.
A quale target rivolgerti per il tuo progetto Fair Trade e Perce?
So she's asking, I'm trying to translate. So what's my target for this project and why? So we want to cover, if possible, all targets, because we have vegans that don't have too much money, or they don't want to spend too much money, and so I would love to cover everything, but at the same time, being fair trade, it might not be that cheap, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I know Daria understands English, so I don't need to translate it.
I love it. Italian is so beautiful. I totally messed that up, but
No, you
Italian
did
is so
great.
beautiful.
You
No,
did
no, no.
great. You
Italian
did
is so
great.
pretty. Yeah.
So, but being in the early stages for me, I'm still researching. I have a few brands that would be happy to be on board, but since I haven't looked into the details of how the platform would work, I haven't gotten into being very specific, but there are certain products that, they're not too expensive, but they're still done by artisans. They might be very small, so they don't have many expenses, because if you work from home, sometimes, you know, you don't have a front store that you have to pay rent or taxes for. So it depends on the working environment. But of course, being fair trade is not going to be too cheap, right?
Well,
Because that's
you
not fair.
right, and you brought up a good point earlier, which I know is a movement nowadays. It's like, you know, you buy less, but you buy better quality and, you know, more compassionate purchases. But again, like you were saying earlier, you know, you may buy fewer items, but you know, they will be fair trade, and so and high quality, and so and that goes back to some people, even, you know, who are not even vegan, they have that philosophy in general in life. They prefer to buy something that costs more because it's going to last longer, because the quality is perceived as being higher than an item that costs, like you were saying before, $10 or $5. And, you know, within 3 months, it's like falling into holes anyway.
Yeah. And relating to weddings, I'm a big fan of items you can reuse, repurpose. You know, I love white pants for the bride, or a jumpsuit, or pair of shoes that you can rewear, you know, maybe a little scarf you can rewear. So just don't buy things, throw a lot of money on things that you will never wear again, you know.
Yeah,
So
and like you're
think
saying, even
smart. And so if you're spending a little more, you know that you will rewear that piece. You can maybe tweak it. You bring it to a seamstress and she's going to do something else with it. But think smart and purchase things that, and you know, then you'll rewear your wedding dress or a part of your wedding dress. How cool is that, you know? So
I
I
love
think
that.
that makes sense, that you can really spend money, but you know, use it wisely.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, like repurposing to, you know, like you say, you know, remodel it. And the other day, a young woman, she's very famous, but I won't mention her name. She wore the wedding dress of her grandmother because
Ah,
they are the same size, and because of all of this social distancing, and she couldn't really have the wedding of her dreams. And well, hopefully it did turn out to be the wedding of her dreams, but it was recently publicized in the press because, again, she's super famous. She's from one of the most famous families in the USA. And it was just so beautiful to see that she was wearing her grandmother's dress. And I even zoomed in on the picture because I was fascinated by the dress. And so, even as you're saying, you know, if you you know, repurpose you know, your wedding dress by maybe, you know, lending it to someone who can wear it, and you know, it's not like you're gonna, you know, never be able to, no one will ever benefit from it, is what I'm getting at.
yeah, I mean, you can donate it if you want a more, you know, lavish dress. I'm personally a fan of minimalism, so I would really love like a long skirt, maybe, and then I can wear it in the summertime, you know,
Oh,
when I go out on a date or something. And
beautiful,
that's
beautiful.
for me what really matters, you know. And also think that we have our closet filled with clothes, and then probably how many do we wear? I don't know,
Okay,
maybe 10,
I'm
the
guilty of
same.
that. I'm guilty of
Me
that.
too, me too. But now I try to buy things where, first of all, you can match with a lot of other things, so you can make different outfits with. But I think also going back to weddings, if you think of our ancestors, how would they get married? They didn't have crazy dresses. They would have their best suit on, and then they would wear it again on Sundays going to church or something, right? So if we can go back to that less consumerism psychology and just buy things that we really cherish, just a few things that we cherish, and every time you wear something, it's like, oh my god, you know, like I usually now I buy something when I travel. So if I buy something, like I did, I was in Paris last October, last year, and I stumbled into a pop-up shop of sustainable brands. So I bought this organic cotton sweater, and it was, like a blue with some French writing. And I talked to the designer, she told me her story. So I had that sweater on almost every day.
And it was
And I still wear
personal.
it. It's such like you fall in love with your clothes and you want to wear those all the time, right? So that's
It
what
makes
I'm
a
doing.
difference.
It tells you a story. It gives you like something to really, I'm gonna wash it carefully. I'm not gonna,
Well, you,
you
yeah,
know.
you place, it's just more special for you. We have 4 minutes left. I want to say hi to everyone who's joining here. I really appreciate you guys joining. And we have 4 minutes left. If you have a question for Daniela, you can pop it down below. So Daniela, please tell everybody the best way to contact you with questions, comments, collaboration.
My email is thekindbride@gmail.com. And they can also, private message me on Instagram, The Kind Bride. It's easy to remember. And I always welcome, people. I love meeting new vegan people, and even eco-friendly and vegan curious, as they call it now. Um, and thank you so much for this chat. I
Thank you,
really
Daniela.
enjoyed it.
Me too, me too. And just to close us out here, we have 3 minutes left. It's probably going to give me a countdown soon. But is there anything else you wanted to mention to us to kind of wrap this all up and put a bow on it for us?
Oh my gosh. I think we covered a lot, and I can't think of anything that's not been covered. So again, if you're curious about planning a vegan wedding and you don't know where to start, you can reach out, and maybe I can give you some tips on, finding the right vendors. I'm not a planner, but I like to make things happen. I'm like a matchmaker.
I love it. Yeah, because you're putting all the suppliers together in one spot, and you keep adding to it. You keep refreshing it and making it up to date and current. So I just love that.
Thank you. Thank you. It was
Awesome.
great to connect with you too.
Awesome. Same for me. And so now we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to save the live to my IGTV and stories. And then for those who again join us live, thank you so much. Those on the replay, thank you also. And a big thank you to Daniela. And again,
I'm so happy the connection works so
yeah,
well.
yes, I know,
Yeah.
I know. So this is awesome. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Sorry, wonderful evening for you. And
I hope I'm not going to spend another sleepless night watching CNN results.
everyone around the world is.
I
So
need some sleep.
everyone does. I know. So I'm
All
going to
right.
end it now so that we don't lose our hour here. So thank you and take
Thank
good
you,
care.
Angel.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Daniela. Take care. Bye bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.